Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our channel. We are offended that you are offended. I'm
Hi.
Kim, and this guy who's making really weird faces at me, trying to get me to smile, I guess, is Tyler. Hi, baby.
What? As if you just so actually today some interesting stuff happened with the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. The uh well, according to the law, he was um well, okay. I don't know. Okay. Let's just let's just get into, the formalities and we'll get into the Kyle Rittenhouse thing a little bit
Sure.
more. What?
Share us. Share us with the world.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you can find us we're on YouTube, on Rumble, on Spotify, Anchor, we're on Facebook, Twitter. Um,
Instagram, TikTok.
yeah. So yeah. So let's get into this. So I guess the first article was actually from was from the Canadian Press, and it was titled "The Shooting Victim Says He Was Pointing His Gun at Rittenhouse." So I when this trial first started, the prosecution was trying to use the people that were the rioters. It's funny that like this article is just riddled with flaws. But so it was saying the judge was saying that they cannot be named as victims because they were actually the aggressors. If they were actually the victims, then they would have no problem with that. So it's interesting that a lot of these articles, and there are actually quite a few articles that are saying like lone survivor talks at in court, the lone survivor of the Rittenhouse rampage, and all this
Oh my
type of
God.
stuff. Yeah, so
That just makes me really angry. That lone survivor of his rampage. I don't know if anybody even knows about the story, what's been going on, but essentially this kid who was 17 years old at the time had gone to a building during all the riots and stuff like that last year. So he had gone to this place of business to help protect the business because it was caught on fire the day before, and also to give medical to people who get injured. So he was just there to try to help mediate the situation and keep things calm. So during this, he was armed, yes, but that is his right to be carrying a legal gun. Um, he's licensed and everything, so whatever. So this guy had ended up he was running someplace, probably I think he was going to go help somebody. And
no. So the thing, like with this information, people will say, "Well, you're leaving out information, or you're leaving out this. You're kind of cherry picking the." Well, you have to be thorough in what's being discussed because he was so earlier in the day. This was he was helping to clean graffiti off of walls. So he's not from Kenosha. He was from just on the other side of the state. I can't remember the town. If someone said it, I would know it, but I just can't think of it offhand. But Kenosha is where he worked. Is where he that was his community. He didn't live there, but he worked there. He had friends there and everything else. So
he lived in
it
Anatoc, Illinois.
Antioch. That's it, Antioch. Yeah. So um so yeah, there was footage actually from throughout the day. I remember seeing actually when this had initially happened with the Richie McGinnis was actually interviewing him, and you could see like Kyle, like he had his, as they call it, AR style weapon, which I don't know. That's like saying if someone has a knife and saying they have a sword. It's like, okay, I guess, yeah, but it's not really. But I get the point, whatever that they're trying to make. So he had his gun on him as a protection, and he also had a first aid kit that he had, and that was actually the first thing that he ended up showing to Richie when Richie McGinnis was talking to him. Because yes, I have my first aid kit here, and I believe it was Richie that actually brought up the point, like, oh, well, you have, like, you have your gun. Like, he had it, like, full on display. He had it, strapped on him so that it wouldn't get taken away. But throughout the night, one of the what was his name? Rosenbaum, I believe. The white supremacist kind of guy, the guy that just got out of the hospital because he was beating the shit out of his girlfriend. That guy, the Black Lives Matter screaming the N word to around a bunch of oddly a bunch of black people, which I don't
Also known as a real piece of shit.
know, but whatever. Um, so he, I guess, they were trying to wheel a dumpster that was on fire towards a gas station.
Right. That's what see, and this is why I was trying to find that video. But anyway, right. Yes, they lit a dumpster on fire and they were pushing it towards a gas station, which was evidently what's gonna happen. Fire, gas. Hmm.
So actually, the New York Times they have a fantastic article, and if I didn't link it, it will be linked in the description. I'll make sure that it's included. Yeah. So New York Times had a great article, kind of breaking down the timeline of what happened. So like you can see like what
Send it to me.
I sent it on the our show map,
Okay.
but so you can see him in there. Like actually, it was I believe it was actually Kyle or um Richie McGinnis's footage of Kyle. It looks so funny. Like in hindsight, it's this kid running with a fire extinguisher to go put out this dumpster fire, and it
Yeah.
was after.
Sorry, it's not coming back.
I got you.
Thank you.
But so he yes, he was running from something or
For
to
some yeah,
something.
sorry. I didn't have my mic on mute. Yeah, I knew he was running to something. I knew it wasn't anything bad. He wasn't gonna go shoot somebody. He was running to something. I just couldn't remember what. Okay.
Yeah, so he was running to go put out a fire, and it was after he put out the fire, this mob that had the Rosenbaum dude in the group, and they started chasing him down. And there was a bunch, like I said, the New York Times did a great breakdown of it. The total series of events up into when Kyle surrendered himself to the police. So there was a report that as he was trying to run away from the crowd, he was actually trying to run towards the police. And I believe the first interaction was someone ended up shooting behind him.
No. First, that guy,
Rosenbaum.
thank you. He
Yeah,
threw something at Kyle,
his yeah. They said that he threw his toiletry bag or something like that. It was like Listerine and toothpaste and a toothbrush or something.
which honestly, that's completely irrelevant. This guy was heard saying that he wanted to kill Kyle earlier that day. So he
Yeah.
had ran past him. The guy threw something, it hit him, and he had kept running at that point, but was kind of aware that, okay, this guy is behind me right now. Like, okay.
Well, so I guess something ended up transpiring. I think in the court documents that they ended up saying that Rosenbaum had caught up to Kyle and actually had grabbed his weapon. I might be getting the names confused because apparently you can't shoot a bullet without hitting a career criminal. So the names kind of bleed together. But so he yeah, so okay, so everyone knows, yes, Kyle ended up discharging his rifle and ended up killing this person. He ended up leaving, like Kyle was leaving, and then he ended up circling back to render first aid to the person that he had just shot.
Yes, but
And
in the video, you can hear a gunshot go off first. That was not Kyle. So a gunshot went off. He turned around, and then that's when he shot back. And when this guy was lunging at him to take his gun, he had shot at that point. But anybody who okay, I'm not even gonna get into that, but yes, then he circled around and went back to the guy that he had shot to go administer first aid and see if he was okay. and people were telling him to go because then that's when people in the mob were starting to come at him.
Yeah, and I believe you could see that there was actually footage he was running past. I remember watching this when it was happening, and you could see like because initially no one really knew what was going on at the time, so they were just saying, "Oh, it was an active shooter." Uh, he was gunning people down and all this, and that seems really weird. Like if you're in an active shooter, like you are in a target rich environment. There are hundreds of people. Cops were a couple miles away. Like,
Yeah.
just start, literally like the Danny DeVito thing, So, anyways, I started blasting, bap, bap, bap.
Well, and
Like,
okay, and not only that, where I was gonna go with this, seeing as how you're already kind of giving some thought in here. If you were to shoot somebody maliciously, okay, like if you were purposely to go and shoot them, I'm sorry, you would just keep on going. You would not stop and turn around and go to see if you could administer first aid and to help this person. He did not do it maliciously. He did not do it with any sort of intent to kill him. He was protecting himself. He shot in self defense and then went back to go try and help him. Like, what kind of rampage person that's going on a shooting spree is gonna sit there and go check to make sure that the person's okay and to try to help them.
well, and that's so Rosenbaum was one. I can't remember the other guy. So whatever. Okay, so if anyone doesn't really, okay, so that incident happened. So you can see he's on the phone. He's saying, "I just shot someone. I just shot someone," and he starts trying to make his way to the police. And there was at one point someone ended up pulling out a gun, and he had his hands up, and he was saying, "Friendly, friendly." So that's not a rampaging type of person's mentality. Like I will say, for what happened, he was extremely restrained. I don't think a lot of people in that situation, whether it was training or whether it was, he was just so overwhelmed and just, okay, I need to deal with the immediate. I that's the thing. We can armchair quarterback this till we're blue in the face, unless he says, yes, I did X, Y, and Z, and this is the state of mind I was in. Blah blah. Like you're gonna be speculating constantly.
Yes. However, you've also seen people who, including police officers, who shoot their gun out of fear. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so there are people who are not trained in firearms that when in a situation like this, like that had even been discussed. I don't know if anybody watches Louder with Crowder, but it had even been discussed on there, and other people who are responsible gun owners were like, "I don't know how he kept his cool." Like, if when you actually see this whole video, this kid was not just, "Oh my god, bang. Oh my god, bang," or just whatever. Like, he was keeping his gun down. He was watching where he was going. He was trying to avoid people, like, big crowds of people. He did not want anybody to get hurt. And if you are a rampage shooter or on a shooting spree or whatever, you just wanna go shoot your gun, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna be running towards cops and trying to find them. You're gonna be running away from them, not actively trying to find a cop. And I had heard that he was, actually a cadet in where he was. So he has some training. He is a responsible gun owner. He's had training with his gun. He knows how to properly handle a gun. Like,
Well, during the whole interact, like all the footage where he is not actually aiming it, like has it trained on someone, his fingers off the trigger. Like you don't put
yep.
your finger on the trigger unless you are going to pull the trigger. Well, that's like a fundamental thing. You aim where you want. Like if like one thing, like with police, when they have their weapon drawn, it is they are prepared to shoot. Like they are. I wouldn't say they're looking for a reason to shoot. That's too loaded of a way to say it, but they are preparing that if they have to shoot, that's where they are aiming. Like
Yeah.
once you raise your weapon, that is considered that is obviously it's a sign of aggression. Like so, but so okay, so the first incident happened. Then while he was trying to get to the police, that's where he ends up getting mobbed. He has one person tries to stomp him in the head. Another person tries to hit him with a skateboard, which yeah, that is a weapon.
I think the guy that stomped him in the head and hit him with the skateboard was the same person. If memory serves me correct, they were the same person. I think he stomped him and then grabbed the skateboard and hit him with it.
There were 4 different people. So,
Okay, maybe,
Rosenbaum
maybe.
yeah, Rosenbaum was one victim. No, one was one rioter, the whatever. There was that one, and then there was, I can't remember the other sorry, the other guy, if I remember correctly, he has quite the rap sheet as well, and he's been, quite a career-long criminal. Um, but so whatever. So he ends after someone tries to grab his gun. Legally speaking, once you grab a weapon, someone else's weapon, you are no longer unarmed. In the legal sense of the word, you are now an armed assailant. So Kyle ended up discharging one, cleared a jam, and then this is when the gross whatever gauge um ended up he stopped, and you can see in the video he stops, and then you see him reach for his weapon, which he actually has a criminal record and he's not supposed to have a weapon, but he had. So yeah, he ends up pulling it out, and he was about to shoot Kyle, and then Kyle obviously returned fire. He stopped the threat, and he was walking towards the police. And there was actually gunfire while that mobbing was happening. And then he guess he dealt with the situation, and then he ran to the police, arms up. And this is the interesting thing: if he was the sole perpetrator, the police actually had no interest in him. He was seen with the police, and the police were giving him water. So the police knew who he and I guess the group that were trying to protect businesses and the community, who they were. But so in the trial that was it today? I don't know. These days are just kind of bleeding together. But Gage, I believe, I think he was the lone survivor. When he was asked in questioning, and he was, these are like revolutionary type of I don't know, groups, and they were asking like, well, are you part of this militia or this revolutionary group? And he goes, no, I'm not affiliated with it. Are you affiliated with this group? And then he says, no, I haven't. He said, well, you spoke at these events hosted by these people. And he goes, yes, I have. He says, so you're affiliated with them? And he says, yes, which is pretty interesting. The thing that I think gets Kyle off immediately is he says he finally admitted that he drew his weapon first. He trained it onto Kyle, and then Kyle returned.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say returned. Kyle shot at him, and then that right there, that is an act of self-defense.
Well, yeah, because they had said when you
So,
came up and your hands were up, did he shoot? No. Like, he put his
yeah.
gun like, you can see in the video. I I wanna play this video for you guys, but, we get all, like, he gets all choppy when he tries talking, but, um, you can see the guy puts his hands up, he puts the gun back down to the ground. Then he goes to grab his gun and goes to get at him, and you can
That's
actually
Gage.
see him trying to sneak around behind him, pulls out
Yeah.
his gun, and then he engaged. I'm gonna try to hit play on this without sound, but, so you guys can maybe see this. Will work for me. Internet sucks. Well,
Am I still coming through?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
hold on. We get an ad first. Welcome to the commercial.
So, oh God.
Hold hold on, I'm trying to get to the actual spot. See, I don't know. It was just I was trying to figure out the look for the names and I found it. So it was Rosenbaum was the first guy and Anthony Hoover
Yeah,
the other one.
that's it. Yeah. Hooper. Yeah, well, this is all CNN does. They'll talk 20 minutes instead of actually
Oh,
giving you the information.
full screen it. Hold on. No. Oh, I don't know if it sees it on full screen though.
Here he is headed down the street. You can see he's got the AR-15 in hand. He's about to trip.
Sucker punch.
Somebody
there.
takes a swing at him,
Now there's
and then you'll see him fall.
fucker. Get this fucker. They start doing that type of shit.
On the
Kill him.
ground.
Go kill him. Okay,
There's
so
a
there,
skateboard.
one discharge. So he discharges on that guy.
There he is. There's a man he
See?
shot in the
Yeah,
chest.
look, he
There's
has-
somebody shot in
has a
the arm.
fucking
There's
gun
a
in his hand.
handgun
Yeah.
in the hand of the individual he shot in the arm. What
Okay,
do you
CNN,
find
shut up.
significant,
Just mute it.
Haley,
Is it
in
muted?
this?
No, it's not muted.
Right.
Mute these
But
idiots.
you said unmute it.
No, fuck. I don't want to hear those two dummies. Yeah, because now they have to give like a big
Bridge over?
10-minute long.
Yeah.
Yeah. CNN's good for that.
So yeah, gun. So as you've seen, this guy whacked him with the skateboard, and then that's when he turned around. But you can also see he's trying to grab onto the gun too. Like the guy's trying to grab the gun away from him after he smacked him.
And that, folks, is why you sling your weapon. Yeah. Come on, I don't need your...
Oh my god. I'm gonna talk about it for half an hour here. This
Oh my
is so
God.
ridiculous. Oh, okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Oh, so they won't even show the...
Yeah, so they skipped where you
Course not.
actually seen him shoot, of course. See if I can find something else. But yeah, he's walking towards the cops after. Like there were people chasing after him still at this point, but he's which is why he keeps looking back, but he's trying to, go to the cops, hands up, like I'm okay. Or I'm not gonna shoot. I'm not gonna shoot.
Yeah, look. Like, yeah, like, it's... Okay, get out of here, fucking CNN garbage. But so... You could see that while he was actually being chased, there were still gunshots. The police were going towards gunfire was still happening. So like I said, I'm sure the people they can find the information like this. Yeah, just
Okay. Hold on. This one it says it includes a graphic scene. Oh. Okay, hold on. See, oh, that guy kicks him.
And now another
Skateboard,
guy
grabs the gun.
Yeah.
So now he shoots. This guy's got the handgun there. See that. That's crazy. Yeah, they're totally. I know I've seen better, but like at the actual videos you can find only in other news places, and some of them you can see him actually shoot.
Yeah, I wonder if like on Live Leak or something like that, or
Well, in the Steven Crowder one, you can see the full video. You can see the people being shot and stuff like that. And I mean, you see right there though is that the guy, he's literally he's on the ground. You can see his gun pointed to the ground, and then the guy comes, he whacks him with the skateboard, and then tries to grab the gun, and then that's how he gets shot. And then the other guy, it's funny, you can see the gun in his hand, and then he like, meh, like, oh, I'm, putting his hands up after. See, it sucks that they missed that. Because then you can see him, he puts the gun back down again, like Kyle, and then he starts to circle, and fix the jam, yeah.
He clears his jam, and then
But with the gun down, yeah. And then the other guy starts sneaking around behind him, pulls the gun up again, and then that's when he shot. And he shot him in the bicep. Like, the guy could have killed him if he wanted to. He was close range enough.
No.
but-
Hold on. I know. I have to stop there. I have, because you've seen this thing with Crowder, and he was saying he was try to recreate that shot. The fact that he shot on him in the arm is, I would say, is total luck. If anything, that was maybe the one thing that I would put the scrutiny on, that it was a unintentional non-lethal shot. Because you are never like, even police, you were told shoot for center mass. You never try to go to shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the shoulder. You never do that because you are responsible for that bullet, what it hits, and whatever else it hits behind it. Like that is like in for police or for firearm training. What is the target and what is behind it? That's how you have to look at it. So I think it was just by chance he happened to hit him in the arm. If he, comes out and says, "Yeah, I aimed for his arm," okay, then that totally changes things. So that's why, like, when people, well, look at, he's such an amazing marksman. And I'm not trying to throw shade on the kid. Like, I'm sure 99% of people would do would result in more deaths.
100%. Like, watching that whole scenario, I mean, you think about it, like, this guy starts out in the beginning, trying to stop this big explosion from this fire thing happening. He gets something thrown at him. A gunshot goes off. A guy lunges at him, tries to take his gun away from him. After he's already been threatening and wanting to kill this guy, he turns around, shoots him, circles back around to see if he could administer first aid and to help the guy. Then is told just go. And then he's trying to get to the cops, goes and runs. Then people start following him and attacking him in the street, kicking at him. He gets thrown to the ground or whatever, it gets tripped to the ground, whatever, however it happened, but he gets, like, kicked at the head, he gets whacked with a skateboard, and somehow, like, and then, like, tries to take the gun. Yes, he shoots the guy in the stomach, then the other guy, he puts the gun down, the guy puts his hands up, you know what I mean? The fact that he could literally keep his cool throughout that, if someone was coming at me and a bunch of people were coming at me, I would be like, me personally thinking about it, like, I would be shit scared. All these people are coming at me. I would probably be standing there with my gun pointing at all of them, going, back the fuck up, back off, like, get away from me. But the fact that he could actually, even on the ground, keep his cool and keep his weapon pointed down until he needed to raise it, for me shows incredible strength in just the kid himself, mentally, to be able to stay as focused as he was and as calm as he was given the situation he was in. Like, he also just shot somebody. Like, he's probably shit scared and, "Oh my god, I just shot somebody." Like, it's not a good feeling. Even if it is in self-defense, no one wants to actually shoot somebody.
So okay, so in this article, so it says, we'll break it down, and then we can get into a little bit why Kenosha was on fire. We'll get into that, and then we have a couple other things, and yeah, okay, so yeah, in this article, it actually says so. Um, Gage was saying that like, if he intended to shoot Kyle, and he said, "That's not the kind of person that I am. That's not why I was out there," he said. "It's not who I am, and definitely not somebody I want to become." During cross-examination, Rittenhouse's defense attorney, Corey Shirafisi, I'm sorry, asked, "It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, that he fired, right?" And Grosskreutz said, "Correct."
Boom.
The defense also presented a photo showing Grosskreutz pointing gun at Rittenhouse, who was on the ground with his rifle pointed up at him. Under the follow-up questioning of the prosecution, he said he did not intend to point his weapon at Rittenhouse. Okay. Wisconsin self-defense law allows someone to use deadly force only if necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. The jury must decide whether Rittenhouse believed he was in such peril and whether that belief was reasonable under the circumstance. Gross said he had gone to protest in Kenosha to serve as a medic. That's weird because he didn't have any medical equipment on, and he had a gun which he was not legally allowed to have. Wearing a hat that said paramedic and carrying medical supplies in addition to a loaded pistol, which he could not have. He said his permit to carry a concealed weapon had expired and he did not have a valid one that night. "I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm for people's right to carry and bear arms." Okay, wow. Okay. explaining why he was armed, and that night was no different than any other day. It's keys, phone, wallet, gun. He said he went into action after seeing Rittenhouse kill a man just a feet away. Copy editor. The second person Rittenhouse fatally shot that night.
Okay. Really? Keys, phone, wallet, gun. Okay, I can understand that in
Which is
any other
yeah.
situation. However, for somebody who is a gun owner, clearly knows to abide by the law and has his license, but yet his permit was expired. But you shouldn't be carrying around your firearm then. Like,
So
why are
on
you carrying your gun if you don't even have a permit for it?
so again on cross examination, actually this was this was the this was the point where you seen the prosecution's lawyers like head in their hands, like, oh, we're fucked. So it was on cross examination. Sheriff Fissy sought to portray Gross Kritz as dishonest in his description of the moments right before he was shot. With fuck. C.
Chirafisi.
Sheriff Fissy. Sorry, I don't know why I can't say that. Asserting that Grosskritz was chasing Rittenhouse with his gun out. Grosskritz denied he was chasing Rittenhouse. So Sheriff Fissy also said Grosskritz lied when he initially told multiple police officers that he dropped his weapon. Yeah, when you have no more motor function in your arm, yeah, you're probably going to drop the fucking thing.
Yeah, you can see in the video, if you actually get to see the video of him being shot, when he gets shot in the bicep, then you see his arm kind of go limp and the gun look like it's falling. Right. Only at that point.
So, in addition, Sheriff Fissy pointed to Grosskritz's lawsuit against the city of Kenosha, in which he alleges police enabled the violence by allowing an armed militia to have run of the streets during the demonstration. And this is the lawyers had asked, if Mr. Rittenhouse is convicted, your chance of getting $10 million is better, right? And it was there, you could see the lawyer's heads
he had answered. Yeah,
right.
Correct.
Yeah, or it was like, I guess so. Or yeah, I think so. So, yeah. But so what ended up causing all this? So again, like we do have the article from the New York Times pulled up, and it does a really good breakdown leading up to the whole situation. But so the reason the riots in Kenosha happened was because of Jacob Blake. Who was Jacob Blake?
He was an outstanding citizen, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. So he was Blake had a warrant for his arrest from July based on charges of third-degree sexual assault. So sexual assault is obviously, and so the definition is an act in which one personally intentionally sexually touches another person without that person's consent, or coerces or physically forces a person to engage in a sexual act against their will.
Thank you for that clarification.
So he was charged with third-degree sexual assault, trespassing, disorderly conduct. Okay, well, disorderly conduct, but in connection with domestic abuse. So Jacob Blake beat the shit out of his, I guess, an estranged wife, estranged girlfriend. So the incident that ended up leading up with Jacob Blake being shot was the woman of his children had phoned the police saying that he had showed up. So she did what she was supposed to do, phone the police, silence is violence, so believe all women, all that crap. What?
I'm trying to remember, is this the one where the guy was outside, the cop showed up, and then he started rushing the cops and he got shot?
You mean the one that went? I don't know. I think that's a different.
Okay.
The guy that was drunk in his car in like a Wendy's drive-through. Is that the one you're thinking of? Oh,
No.
okay. Okay, so the police end up making contact with Blake, and I guess during their confrontation, they had a warrant, obviously, to arrest this guy. So he had abducted the kids, had them in the car, and the lady was heard yelling, "He has my kids, he has my keys." And so they tried to make contact with him. He struggles with the police. Police try to, tase him. Because tasers, non-lethal weapons always work. Just remember that one dude I showed you. You're dead, bitch. Yeah, that guy. He gets shot.
That was crazy. Like, this video, literally, the cops are tasing him, and he still won't go down. Like, he's still just moving around like nothing. And
Yeah, that big black guy. I'll shoot you, bitch, or I'll kill you, bitch. He says something like,
it was scary.
dude, just the prongs in him, and But so they try to use the non-lethal force. He ends up getting to the driver's side, and they start saying he has a knife. So obviously they end up unloading in the guy because, well, the police were saying that potentially he could have been trying to abduct the children. So they ended up unloading in this guy. And it was really interesting that Kamala Harris was saying that this man is a hero. He is an outstanding citizen of this community. A convicted sexual assault that obviously has warrants, has a restraining order, beat his girlfriend or wife, an outstanding citizen. Outstanding. She ended up finding money in order. And this is another thing with Kamala Harris that people don't really know. She solicited all the Black Lives Matter. So, all the people rioting, burning things down, Constable, David Dorn, the police officer, the actual police officer that was shot and killed for a fucking TV. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kamala Harris was pushing to raise money to have these people bailed out because they're such outstanding citizens. When they were burning down people's livelihoods and, killing people. It's weird. More people died during those riots than the police had shot in the same year. So social justice is no different than police brutality, apparently. So
That's crazy. Well, and this guy didn't even die. Like, okay, I don't mean that in a
he's
bad
paralyzed.
thing.
He sued the city, and as far as if I remember correctly, he won.
Oh, probably. Probably. It wouldn't really surprise me in the slightest.
But so, that is what triggered this whole thing. Police stopping a man that sexually abused a girl, abducted his kids, and was trying to stab the police with a knife. I'm not always on the side of the police. I think police can be criminals. I think they can be quite corrupt, especially the police chief who are, you shut up. that can be, the police chiefs are politicians. They're no longer speaking on the behalf of the constables in the community that they're serving, but that's what sparked all this. Create enough enough controversy, obscure facts, omit facts, the real information about this type of stuff.
So what exactly is he a hero of? I mean, I will say the kid's lucky that he survived what he survived. However, he wouldn't have been in that situation had he not been doing shady shit. But so what exactly does Kamala think that he is such a hero of? Like, I don't understand.
Here, so this is from Global News. So this will be this will be also in the description. So anything, if I can find the direct information on it, we'll always try to leave it in the description. So from Global News, so Kamala Harris meets with Jacob Blake's family as she visits critical swing state. So weird, this was all during an election. Democratic Vice President nominee Kamala Harris, which is so funny. She actually received, I think it was less than 1%, especially after Tulsi Gabbard laid into her. Your human rights violations are, you're a terrible human being. You kept inmates past their release date to use them for cheap labor to fight fires. Non-violent criminal offenses, you kept them longer than their sentencing, time and time again, which is that is a human rights violation, let alone just a judicial system problem. She did it consistently. She's also the same type of person that banged her way into the position that she got. Yeah, it might be a little strong, but yeah, just look into her history. I'm sure you guys can find that. So Harris' morning meeting with Blake's family again underscored the two campaigns' differing approaches to addressing police shootings of black men and women and the resulting protests, riots, including some that have been violent. Yeah, okay. While Harris and Biden have met with Blake's family, Trump did not in a recent visit to Kenosha. I wonder why. I'm trying to see where was the there are videos. I don't want to play videos. Just see if I can exactly. We weren't really planning on talking about this, but here we go. Oh, well, from Yahoo News. Kamala Harris told Jacob Blake she was proud of him. Proud of him.
For what exactly?
Blake told Senator Harris he was proud of her and that the senator told Jacob that she was also proud of him and how he was working through his pain. How about the guy's wife? How about the guy's girlfriend that he sexually assaulted? How about her? Can we maybe talk about her?
No, because she wasn't the victim that was shot by the police, the big bad police. She's not the victim here. He's the victim.
Harris called the meeting really wonderful, saying, they're an incredible family and what they've endured and what they do with such dignity and grace. They're carrying the weight of a lot of voices on their shoulders.
Which one? Like the devil's voice?
Asked by reporters about a message, Harris said, just to express concern for their well-being and, of course, for their brother and their sons' well-being and to let them know they have support. So there's always one thing that I always try to well, one thing that really bugs me is when you're being pandered to. Empty promises when you are used as a political pawn. Here you go. Just remember the most secure elections in American history. No discrepancies ever. Zero discrepancies, even though there are discrepancies in every single election, whether you're in Canada or in the United States, well, whatever. Most secure, most popular. Remember, the most popular. The one that never campaigned was the most popular. But yeah, so that's Jacob Blake. Yeah, so again, pandering to a violent criminal that likes to abuse women.
Yeah, and apparently an entire riot had to bust out because of this upstanding citizen.
Well, there was many were like that. It was the criminal. Harris spoke about the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act and implicit bias training. So weird. So many. If you want to make this a race game, if you want to play this card, if we're going to play the race politics thing, black people, minorities want more police. 80% and up want more police. They actually want more integrity in voting in these types of systems. Even immigrants want voting. Like they want.
But it's crazy.
Okay, now that we're totally off the rails. It's interesting that voter ID is racist, but vaccine passports for minorities are not.
What's the difference? Like, well, I mean, why is one considered racist and one isn't? Both of them have your information on it, right?
Because as it's been explained to me, minorities don't know how to use the internet. They don't know how to get to the information. This is when I've said before, bigotry of soft expectation or a bigotry of low expectations, because they're too dumb. Minorities are too dumb to use a computer. They're too dumb to access any type of information. Even though, there are a lot of type of social welfare programs that, they have access, whether it is to a phone, whether it is to some type of community, a library, some way of, even though the thing is free, government ID outside of a driver's license is free. Doesn't cost you anything.
Well, see, and it's kind of the same. Well, it's okay. Well, it's not. Okay. It's kind of the same in Manitoba. Is that every Manitoban has a right to an ID card. Now, whether there's a lot of things that people can't do if they have holds and stuff like that on their licenses or suspensions and whatnot, but the right to obtain an ID will not get refused.
Yeah.
Now, they also have a thing in play too, like for the most part, like an ID card is $20, which is super cheap. However, if you're going through hard times and you can't afford it, you still have that right for an ID card and they will make it work for you.
Yeah.
They'll work it with you. Like they're pretty good with that. So it's not necessarily free. It's pretty darn cheap, but every Manitoban has a right to have one of these.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. You need ID for everything. Like whatever, whether it's a passport, a birth certificate, something like, yeah, you should be able to obtain that stuff and not be forgotten about. But it's just it's if it was consistency, like at least be honest and say, hey, black people are too stupid. Minorities are they're too stupid.
But it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, okay, maybe so no, I don't even know the right word to use this. Financially, maybe like a bunch of people in the low income housing are people of color as opposed to white people. So
Which
they're
is
going
untrue.
to assume that, well, if they're living in low income housing or in bad areas that they can't afford the internet or whatever. Like it's a really bad assumption. Like I am full out reaching here and I think it's all bullshit because anybody would be able to find online some way. They have their cell phones. They have, libraries that you could go to for free. Like it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody would think that they're completely inept to be able to do something like that.
So I'm trying to okay, so according to Wikipedia, so I don't know, skeptical eye. I don't know if I should be using this, but this is what I am going to use. But so the U.S. Census declared that in 2014. Okay, so that's really old. But 10% of all not all white non-Hispanic persons, 12% of all Asian persons, 23.6% of all Hispanic persons, 26.2 of all African American persons, 28.3 of Native Americans or Alaskan Natives. As of 2010, about half of those living in poverty are non-Hispanic white. Okay, non-Hispanic white children comprise 57% of all poor rural children. In African American families comprise 33.3%. Yeah. But so anyways,
But see, that's just where like I'm hardcore reaching because to me it makes absolutely no sense why anyone would come with that conclusion or assumption anyway to make such a ridiculous statement.
okay, so from Statista, sorry, that's one that I tend to use quite a bit. So apparently 19.5% of African Americans are black. Or are
What? Oh my god, I had no idea. Thank you. Learn something new every day, guys.
So 19.5 of African Americans are in poverty,
Oh.
compared to, I guess, the white population, which is 8.2%, all white, non-Hispanic. But I wonder, but in terms of like straight numbers, but whatever, we could play the semantic games all you want. But so okay, so let's take that. So nearly 20% of the black community are too dumb, or at least too dumb to get some type of identification.
And that's not our words. This is others' words.
No, that's 100% what they're saying.
That's
With
what I'm saying. These aren't our
yeah,
words. We're not saying this.
no, I know, but that's what they're saying, that
Yeah.
you're You're too dumb. You don't know how to work anything. But okay, let's shift gears. So from the National Post. So I believe, which is National Post is supposed to be Canadian-based thing, but anyways, so terrorism charges laid against 45 people accused of trying to infect others with COVID-19. So nearly 4 dozen people in New Jersey have been hit with terrorism charges as part of the state's campaign to criminalize threats of COVID-19 transmission. If convicted, the 45 people could each face up to 10 years of prison time and a $150,000 fine, in what defense attorney of the accused have called a miscarriage of justice, targeting the poorest and most vulnerable residents of the state. I've been trying to find any information, like any court filings or anything about, like, directly tied to these to these people, and yeah, I said these people. But I can't really seem to find much information. But let's see, what did I have pulled here? Yeah, so there was, see, and this is kind of the hard thing with this types of information, that you can't find, like when they just say like someone familiar with this person's thinking. It's like what does that even mean? Like, I understand like what it means, but how could you use someone familiar with this person's thinking? How can you use that as a source?
I have no idea. It's not a source. Somebody familiar with. Oh, okay.
Familiar
So
with their thinking.
yeah. So I'm trying to get inside your head right now. I'm gonna go call your mom. She's familiar with your thinking.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense. Like, nobody knows what goes on inside your head except you.
Well, it's interesting that they'll use that type of stuff. And like before, an anonymous source used to mean something, but now they'll, like, there's a lot of articles that use an anonymous source that's completely fabricated.
Yeah,
You know, like the whole like
no deep throat thing here.
what? What?
Deep throat. You know, Richard Nixon, he was the guy, he was the source. He went by deep throat.
What?
Yeah.
What? Why do you know this? What do you mean, Mr. Deep Throat?
Maybe I'm thinking of a movie.
What website was this on?
Pornhub. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm wondering if I'm thinking of
Bill Clinton?
no, the
Monica
movie
Lewinsky?
the movie Dick with Kristen Dunst, and I can't remember somebody else. They were like working at the White House, and they ended up being like the moles or whatever. I don't
I don't think that's a documentary.
They went by, it's not a documentary. I said it's a movie.
No, I know, but yeah.
But there really was a person. I don't know if that was the actual name. Whatever. Yeah, we're not gonna. It was a movie reference. We'll just go with that. I don't know if that's legit or not. Anyway.
Okay, so what the fuck was I? Oh, right. Yeah, people familiar with this person's thinking and whatever else.
Using sources that aren't legit sources.
Yeah. Like the whole like Trump like Russiagate thing, completely discredited. Actually, did you see the thing with Rachel Maddow being taken to court, and the judge actually said that you are not considered legitimate news. That was actually put in court file. They had to determine whether MSNBC was actually considered a legitimate news source. And Rachel Maddow, someone that makes $15,000 an hour, that pushed the Russiagate thing, there's tons of information that this that she was complicit with Hillary Clinton in drumming all this type of stuff up. This is people are being indicted. There are indictments from the FBI. So that is insane. If the FBI is having to say, "Hey, you fucked this up so bad. You made such a mockery of our system that we have to go after these people that made this stuff up. It was completely fabricated. They were saying that these, like, Hillary Clinton had paid for this. And I know I sound like Alex Jones, okay? We're not turning the frogs gay. Although there is truth to that.
I was going to say, there is actually truth to that.
Yeah. There is truth that they're turning the dogs. Jesus. They're turning the dogs gay. Maybe.
Well, that's awkward.
Maybe.
I mean, with our dogs, they seem to have, our female thinks she's the male, but you know.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? But no, we could talk about this another day about all the indictments that the FBI are pulling against these, news agencies that were pushing this stuff. That, like, he was impeached for it. He was impeached for this whole Russiagate working together. It was actually I'm sorry, we're totally getting into the weeds here, like off the rails big time. But it was Hillary Clinton was paying an ad company that worked with Trump. If I remember correctly,
sorry, way off topic. I was correct. Deep Throat. It's a real guy.
Okay.
Sorry, I was really excited there. I was like, am I losing my freaking mind? No, legit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what?
Well, Deep Throat provided key details about the involvement of the U.S. President Richard Nixon in the whole Watergate scandal.
Oh, I thought you were saying Richard Nixon was Deep Throat.
No.
So is that what the operation was called?
No, that was his name. That's what he went by. His real name is Mark Felt, but he went by the pseudonym Deep Throat. So
Mr. Big or whatever.
Yeah, Carl Bernstein, Bob Woodward, and Carl Bernstein. They were reporters.
It's a Jewish name if I ever heard one.
Yeah, from the Washington Post. They were reporters in the Washington Post, and they were getting their information from this guy, but gave him the pseudonym Deep Throat to protect his identity. Boom. Sorry, I'm not losing my mind or thinking of movies. I actually knew something. Ha. Sorry, that was exciting.
Okay. Now I get you. Okay, but so, all right. So, yeah, we can go into this. Please, like, if anyone wants to. The FBI is going after these people because they kept pushing a absolute. At what point is it? It should have been criminal back when Hillary was whitewashed her servers, her private servers, which were supposed to be government information, that she totally whitewashed. I remember, like, Trump was saying, like, oh, she acid washed her servers, and then he got fact checked, saying, did Hillary Clinton actually take a corrosive substance to the hard drives at her house? False. No shit.
That wasn't even in the. Oh boy, that's like really pulling straws here.
But unfortunately, that's the type of stuff that is done with the fact checking type of stuff. It could be like, oh, did Kim inhale a vape while, I don't know,
doing a podcast? False. I inhaled the vapors from my vape.
It could be something as, an omission or a technically she didn't acid wash. She didn't take a corrosive. Okay, yeah. So I guess technically true, but no.
Figure of speech.
Whitewash is when you delete everything and you get rid of everything. But whatever. Okay, but so,
back to this article though. Hey?
Yeah. Let's. Okay, so yeah, terrorism charges laid against 45 people. So Denise Lewis, 28, told The Guardian she had been arrested while walking on the streets in April 2020 with warrants related to a failure to pay traffic tickets and an incident in which she had escaped from a police vehicle. She had been a witness to a fight but left the back of the patrol car. After being taken into custody, police say Lewis coughed in close proximity to the arresting officer and stated she had COVID-19, even though no dashboard body or in-station videos have shown the encounter.
Hmm.
Lewis had no criminal history prior to this exchange, but now she faces a terrorism charge after the officer's allegation. So,
Yeah. I don't really
but
agree with this whole the next paragraph that they have in this article, I think, is completely irrelevant, and now you're just reaching.
yeah, and like and I don't know if he brought it up, but it's the Gilman amnesia effect. No?
No.
Okay, so the Gilman amnesia effect. So if an article is written about something that you are intimately familiar with, so if you have an expertise in I don't know, whatever, staplers, and there's
I am really good with staplers. Mhm.
okay, but so if an article comes out saying, well, this is how a stapler actually functions, and what they use, they use magic pixie dust and little gremlins that actually push the staple,
True story.
this little piece of metal through the paper, and it magically adheres to it. Well, you go, no, that doesn't. That's completely false. Like that's not how it works at all. What are you talking about? And then you flip the page, and it could be like, oh, they've discovered a way to make meat replicate faster. And you go, oh, really? That's pretty interesting. Even though what I said is true, but you know what? Okay,
Oh, well, they attach something that's false to something that's true, so then you would think that the false thing is true? Am I correct?
no, see, that's why I used a bad example. Okay, so if
Okay.
they said like, oh, all Middle Eastern countries have unified, and you go, oh, really? I didn't know that. So something that you're intimately familiar with, completely discredit it. Like whatever they said is totally wrong. And then you flip the page and you go, oh, wow, really interesting. Completely forgetting that, look at the errors that they have gotten wrong in the last article. And now
Yeah.
so that's the Gilman amnesia effect.
So, the paragraph that I'm referring to, which is what sparked this whole conversation here, is somebody was quoted saying, "This is a poor person," Terry said. "If this was a rich white lady, then none of this would be happening. This is a poor black lady, and they're gonna stick it to her. I think it's wrong." I think the fact of the color of her skin or her social standing, whether she's rich or poor, I think has absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't really it seems a little skeptic eye that there was no cameras or whatever even showing this, so it turns into like a he said, she said thing, which that seems a little suspicious to me. But it it the fact of now trying to grasp at straws and playing it as it's a race thing, I think is you're reaching. This ridiculous.
Well, and unfortunately, like this does happen, and this is why, like I've said, like the blue wall of silence needs to go. There needs to be more accountability for police. Like to the point, like whether police are paid better. I think absolutely police do not get paid enough for the job that they do.
No, they definitely do not.
They do, and I think to an extent they do not have the absolute necessary resources to do that job. How many police officers do you see end up coming down with some type of addiction, some type of issue that whether they come home after a violent crime, like how many? I'm sure everyone can think of a story, say like a police officer comes home, from solving or dealing with some guy that just beat the shit out of a baby and killed it, and then they come home and they're violent. They have no way of getting that anger, that hatred that they have, and they can't serve their community because they're just, okay, here's your 10-hour shift, you're done, go home.
Yeah.
You can't process it. You like
It's even people that like soldiers, guys in the army. It's the same shit. The stuff that they see on a daily basis. And yes, a lot of the horrific things might not happen on a daily basis, but things that these people are um, subject to, that they get exposure to. These are very traumatic things that cause trauma, that cause
mhm.
PTSD and stuff like that, that they need certain outlets to be able to deal with that. They need counseling. They need, a group therapies or whatever it may be, but they need something to help them cope through these things.
Well, and think like unfortunately, our police are people, which is, I would rather talk to a police officer, try and get out of a ticket than a robot.
Oh, 100%.
or not even necessarily get out of a ticket, but like there's been times like I've been pulled over in the semi, and you know what? I don't treat the officer as though like, I'm not confrontational. I had so there was one incident that I had a vehicle had claimed that I was swerving all over the road. And for anyone that knows, I was going between what is that shitty town in Saskatchewan? Not Regina or Saskatoon. What's the Swift Current? From Swift Current all the way I was going to all the way up until Medicine Hat, Alberta. And I actually noted this car. I asked the police officer. Obviously, he's not going to say yes it was, but I know the car that was sitting there. So the car had claimed that I was swerving all over the road. And so immediately the cops end up like catching up with me in Medicine Hat. So mind you, this is like a 3-4 hour drive that they finally end up catching to me. But so the cop pulls me over and he says, well, we have to do a roadside sobriety test. I'm like, okay, why? Well, because it was called in that you were swerving all over the road. And I said, it didn't happen to be a black van, did it? I said, because that person was sitting next to me and was kind of pushing against me the entire drive. So I'm wondering, was it that vehicle? He says, I can't say. So, okay, so whatever, but I wasn't a dick about it. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Well,
So
I remember for me, I've had 2 run-ins, I guess. One was I was on my cell phone at a railroad track. My vehicle's in park, and a cop had come up to the window and tappy tappy and was like, nay, nay. I didn't get ticketed for it. He gave it to me as a warning, but was just kind of like, I was like, really? I can't have my phone even while I'm in park and I'm not moving? And no. Okay, cool. And then the other time, I was flying down the perimeter and the guy had pulled me over. And to be completely honest, this like,
wait, how long ago did this happen?
9 years ago.
Okay, good. Statute of limitations is gone.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was flying down the perimeter and the guy had actually caught me as I was slowing down and I was going very, very, very fast. Now, when he had pulled me over, he's like, you know what? When I first seen you, or whenever he had seen me, like if I was doing this, he would have kind of, okay, let it slide. He's like, but considering you were going this fast, he's like, I can't. Like, I have to pull you over or whatever. And he pulled me over and, I was scared and I was nervous and I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And he kind of chuckled about it and he was just like, well, I'm really sorry. He's like, in some ways, like I could give you a warning because like I've never had a ticket before or whatever. But okay. And again, this guy caught me as I was slowing down. He caught me at doing 145. So I was literally 5 kilometers away from losing my license, having my vehicle impounded, all that other fun jazz. And I got one hell of a ticket. Like we're talking $600+ ticket. So it's but he was nice about it. Like he talked to me and I didn't have any hard feelings towards the guy. Like he was doing his job. Like I felt like shit. And I will say that was literally the one and only time or the last time I sped that much. That literally like, okay, I'm not doing this again because that was one hell of a ticket. I could have lost my license, which then inadvertently I would have lost my job. So it was a risky game I was playing there. And the thing is, yeah, I can be like a lot of other people out there and be like, oh, stupid cop pulled me over and meh, 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 gave me a ticket and play the whole poor me. I'm going to put the blame on everybody else. But at the end of the day, it was my fault. The guy was doing his job. He wasn't a dick about it. Like whatever.
Yeah, like, and and there are stories of
You are nasty. I don't know. That food it's not sitting in your cockle area very well. Yeah.
Okay, so anyways,
Whew.
and then like there are stories of police doing crooked shit in order to find to nail someone with something.
Yeah, probably to meet their quota or whatever it is that they're trying
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. And anyone that says, "Oh, the quotas aren't a real thing," eh, they look at crime statistics, and if there are not a lot of crimes in an area, they take resources away because they don't need that many police officers or that much infrastructure there for the police if there's no crimes happening.
I remember
So
it was like this like ongoing joke in T Town that like, oh, the cops must be needing to make up their monthly quota because it was always around a certain time in the month where they would be parked and you'd be seeing them pulling over people over and over and over and over. And then the rest of the time during the month, nothing. And it was always just around this certain spot. It's like, oh, it must be month end quota time.
yeah, and so yeah, there are some police that but they become jaded. Like, who doesn't become jaded, especially if it ends up becoming an us versus them mentality. I'm seeing the scum of the earth day in, day out. You're seeing the Jacob Blakes of the world. You're seeing those people day in and day out. So yeah, it's very easy, and I don't think that they should be paid a lot more for what they do. They don't get to $30,000, $50,000 to be a beat cop, where you're spit on, where you're disrespected, where every single day you come home to, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I think everybody, their intentions when they start out to be a cop are always pure. You know that they want to be a cop because they want to make a difference. They want to help protect people, stuff like that. And I think in time after doing the job, like it's probably not as rewarding as they thought it would be, and maybe in some situations it is, but they take a lot of abuse. And when these whole defund the police thing were happening, honestly, I could only imagine if I was in that position, how shitty I would be feeling. I'd be like, "You know what? Like, you don't want cops anymore? Like, fine, I'm out. Like, I
Well,
don't wanna do this anymore."
and that's a lot of what happened is you now had your government turn their back on you,
Yep.
and the community turn their back on you. So the community doesn't want you there. The laws and policies and procedures, whether they're followed, let's assume if they were followed to the T, there's such a thing as lawful but awful,
Yeah.
or
Y
awful but lawful.
yeah.
And so, that does happen. And then, but let's not try to, there are some cops that are,
Oh,
you
100%.
know,
They
power trippy and corrupt and
if anything, they should have been doing a clean sweep. They should have swept through everything, got rid of the bad seeds, and have better protocols put in place for these cops, better, like I said, outlets, places for them to be able to talk and to have somebody to talk to and better training and stuff like that. Like there should have been a lot more money put into them to help them succeed as opposed to the notion of defunding the police. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
well, it's ends up becoming, more stick, less carrot. Like, if you do not do a good job, okay, well then we're gonna take things away from you. We're gonna take the resources you need to do your job effectively, to the point where police are in certain areas are not allowed to use a taser. So all they have is, they have to go for their utility belt. They can't use any type of restraints. They can't use non-lethal restraints.
Why?
There were some reports of, tasers, causing people to have heart attacks, and the technology with tasers have improved a lot, almost to the point of, you have people that are hopped up on drugs, and that's the thing. They only work sometimes. Like, if you watch like Donut Operator, he is an ex-military, he is an ex-cop, and he does a fantastic breakdown. He's funny and he's entertaining, and he can give the other side of the badge. And seeing some of the breakdowns that he does, but there are some cops that are just, they're jaded. They aren't integrated with their community. You used to see cops walking around. They used to be part of the community. They serve the community in which they live. Now they drive into the community in which they serve and then they leave. So they have no tie there.
Yeah.
You don't see the same police day in, day out, and oh, hi, Officer Bill or Officer whatever. You don't see it. It's just, okay, it's a cop.
I think those are some of my favorite videos that I do see, like on YouTube and stuff like that. Or, you'll see that cop that's literally playing at the local basketball court with a bunch of kids, or just taking that time out or doing some dancing with the kids, like just spending time in the community and getting to know people. And a lot of those communities, they love the cops. They've built relationships with them. They're not bad people. And you have the couple bad seeds that ruin the image for everybody. And it's really disheartening.
Well, and I think that's where, like I've said, like the blue wall of silence, it's us versus them. If you talk about another cop, you're looked at as snitch and you are ostracized from the community. No, like, okay, so in the transportation industry, I harp on this quite a bit, that inexperienced drivers make everyone, regardless of experience, they look inadequate. They become scrutinized because someone sees a semi do something dumb and someone thinks, oh, all semi drivers are like this,
100%.
which is obviously that is untrue, but that ends up creating a stigma.
Yep.
And then you have people that do not do the job weighing in and making policies for people that um, literally have no idea of the industry. And that's why, like, I would say, yeah, I don't know intimately what police officers do. Like my stepfather he's a retired officer. And, there are things like he won't talk about it. If he sees something, he looks away. Like if he's watching, like, I don't know, like CSI or some shit, he looks away. He can't watch it because of, this stuff that he had to experience
Oh,
as
yeah.
being a police
I'm
officer.
sure he's seen some quite traumatic stuff that's going to stay with him forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and this is stuff that who do they talk to? Like, what officer is going to go to their wife and say, hey, today I witnessed the example of a man, beat the shit out of a baby, or, a mother with postpartum depression drowned her children. And we had to go and stop her. Like, we had to go arrest her. So, like, there's something really traumatic that, like, who do you talk to?
Well, yeah, you can see, and that's the thing. Like, you can say you do talk to your wife. Well, there's only so much the wife is going to actually understand. They're going to be there for you. They're going to help comfort you. However, they're not going to understand um, what it's like being in the position that you were in. They're not going to understand or be left with the mental image that you are now left with for the rest of your life. Seeing people suffer, seeing people die in front of you, seeing, if you've ever had to draw your gun and had to shoot somebody out of self defense, it's not like 99.9% of cops aren't gonna shoot somebody out of self-defense and be like, "Yeah, that's right, bitch." No, they're gonna feel like shit, and that's gonna traumatize them for a long time, Like, it's the stuff that they actually have to deal with, you can only understand literally, like, a tiny little hair on top. You'll never understand what it is to be in that position, and personally, I wouldn't want to. I mean,
Yeah.
there was even things like back in the day, I even thought of one of my jobs, I wanted to work as a 911 operator. They made really good money. However, I reconsidered that because the things that you would hear and witness on the phone, that's shit that's going to stay with you. And if I'm on the phone with somebody who's being murdered or they were kidnapped or they're about to kill themselves and I'm on the phone with that person and something bad happens, uh mm-mm. No, thank you. No.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like I said, the good cops, a lot of them have quit. A lot of them have left, especially with this whole Black Lives Matter thing. It's just, they say, like, it's not worth it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. But, we
Nope.
can, so, I know we kind of got off track with this whole but it's with this whole national post thing. So, seeking terrorism charges on people, like there was a video, actually, we were talking about this before, that there was it was a mother and she had her baby in a stroller. And there was this lady um that was in front of them, and the mother says, hey, like, excuse me, like, you're standing really close, this, like, during, like, when COVID first started. And the lady goes, I can't remember what she said. She ends up saying something, but then she like coughs, like kneels down and coughs in the baby's face. Like, but is that terrorism charge? Like, is that worth 10 years in prison?
Oh, I
Like,
mean, I guess it really all depends on how the events actually played out. I mean, for one, being a mom, I would have punched that bitch in the face.
well, yeah,
100%. Two, if something were to happen to my child, God forbid, because of this woman's insane actions of non-caring, if something were to actually happen to my kid, if the person did actually have COVID and my child unfortunately did pass, I would probably try to go after her. I don't know about terrorism, but I mean, there was a video I had seen recently too about this. She was I don't know, a mom probably around our age, but she was talking like she had a child, I think that was like 5, and talking about how vaccines are now going to be allowed for children from 5 to whatever. And she's like, once my kids are vaccinated, she's like, that is it. I don't give a shit about the unvaccinated. I'm going to go, I'm going to cough, we're going to sneeze all over them. I am so done with these unvaccinated people and stuff like that. As soon as my kids are vaccinated, that is it. All gloves are off type thing. And I'm just like, how disgusting of a person are you?
yeah. No, that was
Like, oh,
and if anyone wants to see more like psychotic babbles like that, Libs of TikTok does a fantastic job of bringing to light people that are like that
and where do you find that?
on Twitter.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so they'll like that, but well, so like this lady. So I ended up finding the video. So yeah, you guys can anyone can just search like woman purposely coughs on a toddler, or I'm sure if you search like woman coughs on baby or something like that, I'm sure you could find that information. But that's yeah. But to lay terrorism charges, I don't.
Terrorism's a silly of a charge. I mean, was
So, well, I guess we'll
this
continue with
person
this.
even COVID?
I don't know. I'm trying to. So there was a follow up with it, but well, just yeah. So the lady had her mask on. Yeah. So she ends up coughing on this baby. The woman was upset, believing the woman wasn't maintaining. Okay. You ever see that video of a guy, he was harassing this chick in like a grocery store? Like he had a mask on and he goes, "Where's your mask? Where's your mask? Why aren't you wearing your mask? We all have to. Where's your mask?" And he keeps going after her. And she's like, "Just stay away from me. Leave me alone." And she's like up at like the cash registers and he goes, "Well, anyone." And like she's not wearing her mask. And it was something like, look at this outcast kind of thing. And someone ends up yelling, "Leave her alone." And then he leaves. So she was wearing a mask and she was mad at the woman because she was standing too close. So she ends up going to cough on the person. Like, you're just an asshole. Like, that lady is just an asshole.
100%.
But so, okay, so we'll look at one little extra part on this. So, New Jersey prosecutors, according to The Guardian, specifically cited precedents set in the 1990s HIV charges, which seems really weird because in California, you no longer have to tell someone if you have AIDS. You do not have to disclose to someone that you have AIDS if you're going to have sex with them.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay. So, I'm gonna go have sex with somebody who's willingly knowing that they have a sexually transmitted disease that will inevitably kill them and could kill me. I have coitus with this person and I end up contracting HIV. That's cool. Okay. So they didn't have to tell me that, but I go into a restaurant and I have to flash that I've been vaccinated.
Yep.
So I have to tell somebody if I've been vaccinated, but somebody who literally has a deadly disease that can kill you is not legally obligated to tell me that they have this disease before I shook him.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, well, that's progressivism for you. Yeah. Instead of,
That is some hardcore bullshit.
But I guess for like HIV and AIDS, like there is treatment that, you can basically live a normal life as long as you take your medication and you're not gonna, but maybe, I don't know, like, okay, here's the conspiracy mind in me. Big Pharma paid off certain politicians to have this passed so that those people that now transmit this virus to other people, now they become lifelong users. You remember the whole thing about like a bear a day keeps the heart attack away or some bullshit? That was
Oh.
completely discredited. In fact, it might actually increase. It might actually make things worse.
Oh. That's
That was all advertising. So yeah, one example was State versus Smith, in which HIV positive inmate Gregory Smith was sentenced to 25 years prisoning in prison for threatening to kill corrections officers by biting or spitting on them, even though it was widely known by then that HIV could not be spread through saliva. Last year, a northern New Jersey man spent 8 months in jail awaiting indictment when arresting officers asked him if he had any health problems. He answered Corona. I have Corona.
hold on. Okay, am
What?
I reading this correctly? This guy got 25 years in prison for threatening? Didn't actually do it. He didn't actually bite or spit on them. He
Yeah.
threatened to kill correction officers by biting or spitting on them.
Yeah.
Threatening.
Even though we all
20,
know.
25, but regardless, 25 years in prison for a threat?
Oh, see, hold on. So maybe we should give them some leniency because at the time, our Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci, was saying that a person that has AIDS can contract it through. If someone in a household has AIDS, they can contract it through like touching like a cereal box. So if a parent or a child has AIDS, if they touch something, you can contract it like that. Even though overwhelming evidence at the time was showing that it cannot. So instead of actually taking the precautions to actually, inform the population that of what's happening, again, he was saying that we we don't want to scare the public or spreading purposely, like, at what point is it just I made an error and it's intentional. So he was way wrong about about AIDS and HIV. Completely wrong. Whether he did it on purpose, like, he was in Congress, he lied in front of Congress, which is perjury. You can go to jail for lying under oath, especially under a congressional hearing. I don't know if you ever seen like Ron Paul. I always mix him up, the hippie one, but he is a practicing physician. Like when he's not a congressperson, sorry, he actually goes to other countries and donates his doctoring expertise. He does it for free. So, and Anthony Fauci is saying, excuse me, you don't understand the science. You don't understand it.
Apparently, neither did he.
So, but like,
But, but mm, 25 years for threatening. This other guy gets 8 months in jail for what? Answering a question? I don't even, there wasn't even a threat here. They asked him if he had any health problems, and he answered, "I have corona." And
yeah,
he spends 8 months in jail for answering and being truthful?
yeah. So
What?
it continues on with it's obviously not a threat in the common definition of the threat, nor in the legal definition of the threat. And it was a direct response to the questioning, said the man's attorney. After release, the inmate, I guess, the convicted person, he was asked to return to jail to get a COVID-19 test. It was just so absurd and offensive to me for him to go into the jail to prove he was a COVID negative person. Well, he was a COVID negative when obviously he could get tested on the street. The man's attorney was describing it as an example of how the pandemic has been used to hurt some of the most vulnerable people.
So did it take 8 months for them to get the results or something?
I assume he was being charged for something else, but this is kind of the hard thing that when they don't supply a name, I can't fact check it. I can't find supplemental information for this that totally verifies it, because this again kind of sounds like, well, let's just make up a story and look, this makes police and corrections officers sound bad. So it is hard to find. It can be hard to find corroborating information, or you can actually find the source of the information. Because maybe that's not necessarily what he said, and a defense attorney is going to twist whatever his client says to make it sound in the best light. So I don't know. I don't think on average that's normal. Like police would do that, but all right, let's get the fuck out of here.
I mean, so lesson of the day. There's a lot of dicks out there. Okay.
Wash your ass.
Right. And I mean, like, Kyle, I know you're probably not listening to this, but I really hope actual justice prevails here, because the reason that you're going through all this court right now, I think, is absolutely ridiculous. And anybody who watches the video can plainly see everything was in self-defense. But anyway, hope everyone had a fantastic, I don't know, week so far.
All right, bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, share, subscribe, yada yada yada. Okay, bye.
Happy hump day. I mean, check a where. Okay. Good night, everyone.